Welcome back to Make Do. I'm David.
And I'm James.
Today we're going back in time for a project we finished up a while ago.
We hesitated editing this video and sharing this project with you because the original concept had some additional elements that didn't really pan out.
However, after some time had passed, we realized we actually had something really cool.
Even though it didn't meet our original vision, it was still something to be proud of.
So, what kind of 3D printer is this?
I think it's a sewing machine. And we, well, you, are going to be using it to make a Tooka Doll from the Star Wars universe.
These dolls show up throughout the animated series and always look a little different.
Seeing as they haven't shown up in live action yet, we thought it'd be cool to visualize a real-life version.
And while doing some research, we did see that Disney does sell a version of this, but we thought we could do one better. And probably cheaper. One of the leading reasons we took this project on was to try and learn some basic sewing techniques. In the prop and cosplaying world, sewing is one of the most essential skills, and we have plenty of room to learn. Which was good, because to get to our final pattern, we had to make a couple of iterations. This is our first sewing project, so some of these iterations are pretty horrifying.
But we did learn a lot making these abominations. If you want one for some reason, shoot us a message on Instagram or Facebook, and we'll try to send one out.
After some trial and error, we ended up on our final version. Again, these seem to vary wildly across the galaxies, so we made this our own, keeping the signature elements like the simple face and the adorably stubby limbs. Supplies for this project were pretty basic. We'll be using this pizza cutter thing that's used to cut fabric, a straight edge, some fabric shears, basic cotton thread, some buttons for the eyes, and of course the fabric for the design. Because we were learning, we tried to keep our supplies pretty basic. Excluding the actual sewing machine, this project was actually relatively inexpensive. For the design, we kept things pretty simple and bold, featuring some classic Rebel orange, maybe this is made from an old Rebel jacket, and for the body, we're using this canvas-like cotton fabric. I start by tracing my pattern out using a water-washable fabric pen. I then cut the pattern out using fabric shears, making sure to leave a 1/4 inch or so for the seam allowance. Basically, this is extra space so I can mess up later. Once I have both sides cut out, I go over everything with an iron to keep things nice and flat and easy to work with. From our practice, we found out this is really important. I then get to work on laying out the orange bits. I didn't plan too much ahead on this design. Again, I'm trying to keep in mind that this Tooka doll was most likely made by a child using scraps. With everything clipped in place, I can get to the actual sewing. We have a pretty basic machine for the shop. It isn't too complicated and really easy for us beginners to use. I start by attaching the orange bits to the arms, trimming off any excess after it is secured. Now I need to figure out my plan for the ears. I want to do this stripe design, and to make sure they line up, roughly speaking, between the ears, I decided to cut long strips that will span across both ears. This will make a little more sense a little later. With everything clipped down, I can sew the ear stripes in place. Now that they are secured, I can cut off the excess orange fabric, separating the ears while maintaining nice parallel stripes. I end up doing all of this twice to create the front and the back of the doll. They're the same design. But before I can sew this together, I do need to sew the eyes in place. I use my stencil to roughly place the center point of each eye. We ended up finding these really cool wooden buttons that have that perfect found quality that fits nicely into the Star Wars universe. To secure them in place, I'm using some bright orange embroidery floss. The buttons have this really cool pattern that I take advantage of to create sort of a pupil. Speaking of buttons, you should hit that subscribe button. That was so gross. I'm so sorry. With both sides done, I can now sew them together. The trick is to sew the doll inside out. This will give us nice clean seams when we turn it right side out, and the final piece will feel a lot cleaner and more professional. I take some time to make sure my two halves are aligned before I clip everything in place. I then mark a spot to leave open so I can turn it right side out later on. Again, this will make a little more sense later. Now I just take my time and stitch the whole thing up. With everything secure, I can trim off some of this excess seam allowance, taking extra care not to cut my stitching out. Then I can just turn him right side out. And we're done.
Wow, I really like it.
He's perfect in every way. With some patience and a dowel rod, I am able to turn him completely right side out. Wow, it actually looks pretty nice, but it needs a little life.
Using this lifetime supply of polyfill, I fill our little guy up and give him some volume. We found in our testing that underfilling gives it a more ragdoll appearance, which is exactly what he is.
Now I can perform just a little surgery and close him up. Again, just using some embroidery floss. This is a great time to mention again that we're novices at this, and this is a great project for a novice. We wanted to create something that feels thrown together from scraps, not something from a factory, so in the end our amateur skill set really just adds more to the character. Here he is. Here's our little Tooka Doll. He's done.
This project was a great learning experience, and this little guy is super cute. And again, if you want one of our weird prototypes, let us know via Facebook or Instagram. We'll try to get one out to you.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun to play around with a different medium and to make something that really isn't a replica. This isn't a piece of 3D printed plastic that we painted to look like a Tooka Doll. It just is a Tooka Doll.
There are also a ton of customization options for this. We'll include a link to our pattern if you want to try and make your own.
It is a great addition for any diehard Star Wars fans collection, and maybe we'll get to see a live action version of this in the Kenobi or Ahsoka series.
To stay up to date on all of our future projects, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell.
You can also follow our other socials for some behind the scenes content as well as some smaller projects.
Thanks for watching.
See you in the next one.